Hey guys, so today I thought I would do something a little different. As I'm sure most of you know, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Am also a Spider-Man collector, so I've got some new comics, vintage. Some I wouldn't say they're new; they're vintage actually. Um, Comic books in. Got a nice little stack here. I want to show off now. Before I continue, I'm not a mint comic book collector. The reason being is mint costs mucho dinero, which I do not have right now. So I get my books well loved. I tend to read them. So I hope at some point I will be able to upgrade on some of the books that I have. Um, Trying to put together as much of Amazing Spider-Man run as I can. I will never be able to put a full run of Amazing Spider-Man because his books are very, very expensive, especially from the 60s and early 70s, which is why when I do find a book from that era, I tend to have it low grade, which is fine with me. I'm just having them just to have them. I'm not trying to sell them at any point. So, anyway, let's get on with it. Got this Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. This is another set that I'm trying to put together a run. This is issue 76 with him holding Black Cat in the cover. Um, sorry for the glare, first of all. This was the first comic book series that I saw as a kid, and that's pretty much why I'm trying to put the set together. Here is Amazing Spider-Man number 3. I'm sorry, not Amazing Spider-Man. This is King Size Annual Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man with Man-Wolf on the cover. Dark Side of the Moon. So this is the third King Size Annual that they came out with in this set. Here's Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 8 with Morbius, the living vampire. Couldn't be dead because of the comic book code, which you can see right there. They will not allow vampires or any blood-sucking creatures, which I don't know how they got Tomb of Dracula past them. That might have been after the comic books code was abolished. So this is actually a pretty decent looking issue, I think. So got that. Then we got issue number 38 with Morbius again on the cover. Mayhem is the man called Morbius. And Sony's doing a movie on Morbius. I forgot who's playing Morbius though. I think it's Jared Leto. I could be wrong about that though. Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 53. So it's kind of yellowed, but I still have it. Like I said, I'm not putting together mint on card. This one has a terrible Tinkerer. It was right there. If you guys seen Spider-Man Homecoming, Tinkerer was in it. He was kind of the sidekick to Toombs, Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture. A lot younger in the movie though, and fatter. But I think he did a good job, and he wasn't quite at the end of Homecoming, so I'm expecting him to see him in Far From Home. Now this was very special to me. This is issue number 1 of Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man. This was the first book I've ever seen of Spider-Man, and I can remember it clear as a bell. My mom had a friend that lived in Woodside, in Queens, so we would take the 7 train over there to go visit. When we would go downstairs, there used to be a magazine shop, or a newsstand, I should say, and I always get some treats to keep my mouth shut. And I remember distinctly seeing this book hanging off a peg at the comic book stand, and I begged my mother for it. For some reason, I was just enamored with the idea of a man with feet that was spiky and a guy that was stuck to a wall. I vaguely remembered Spider-Man at the time because I did watch the 1967 Spider-Man cartoon show that Fox was airing at the time. Because I remember there was like a double feature of Spider-Man and then the 1966 Adam West Batman at some point. I don't know if it was on PIX or Fox had it also at the time, but that was my afternoon coming home from school. And seeing this book on the stands in Queens, I never got it, but now I have it. So there's issue 1 of the Spectacular Spider-Man. Another run I'm trying to put together is the Marvel team-ups with Spider-Man. And this one is issue 78 with Wonder Man, who is not, I don't believe he's in the books anymore. Wonder Man looked more like a guy who would hang out in a library or something and just read volumes of lore while sipping on brandy or something. Of course, his name is Wonder Man. I guess you couldn't have a Wonder Woman since DC already has Wonder Woman. Here's Giant Size Superheroes, which the issue number 1. I don't remember how I got this one. This one was either a gift or I got it on my own. This one also has Morbius and Manwolf, actually. So, and managed to pick this up. Now, if you're a child of the 70s like I am, this is issue 19 of the Marvel Comics and Electric Company presents Spidey Super Stories with Spider-Man, and you see Iceman with fighting Doctor Doom. If you're a child of the 70s like I am, you'll remember the Spidey Super Stories that were on the Electric Company. Spider-Man never spoke a word, I guess, to help kids read. He would just speak with the word balloons so they could read the book or the words that he's trying to say. And it was cool. Somewhere a friend of mine gave me a DVD of those. I haven't watched them, and I haven't seen those since I was a kid, and I hadn't watched it since when he gave it to me. So I think I'm gonna probably pop it in and take a look at it. This one is a book I believe from the 80s. This is Riot at Robot World. This one is a book for the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering. So I guess this is a book to help minorities become engineers or get them interested in it. And you can see Spidey is fighting a robot dinosaur, and he has someone in his clutches. And there's something that kind of looks like Doc Ock's arms. I haven't read this yet, so don't know what's going on, but it's Robot World, it's mayhem, it's a riot at Robot World. And I got some vintage Amazing Spider-Man books. This one is issue 131, where Doc Ock is trying to marry Aunt May. Aunt May thought Doc Ock was very charming, if I remember correctly, and only Peter Parker knew that he was a villain, but he couldn't let on that he knew he was a villain because then he would be giving up his secret identity. So there you have that. Then I picked up issue number 139. These books were half off. I wasn't paying $10 for this book in this condition. And this was one of the lesser known Spider-Man villains, the Grizzly. And there's a good reason why he's less known, is because he's lame. And there's a surprise supervillain in this book, so when I read it, and of course J. Jonah Jameson, who bashes Spider-Man all the time, is begging him to get up or he'll kill us both. Oh. And here's another old issue. This is issue number 58. Well loved, as you can see, which I do not mind. And here's the Spider Slayer with J. Jonah Jameson's face in it. To Kill a Spider-Man is the name of this issue. I want to say this is late 60s, this book. Here's issue number 64, where he's fighting the Vulture. I'll tell you one thing, I do wish these books were in better condition than what I have them in, but again, these books would cost me mint condition probably upwards towards $50 because they are from the late 60s, early 70s, and I'm just happy having these books just so I could have a little bit of a run. I'll never be able to afford Amazing Fantasy 15. I'll never be able to afford Spider-Man #1 or any of those from the early 60s. So I'm just content and very happy with what I have. This one's issue number 70. This cover was made into a t-shirt that I bought at Target. So I still have this t-shirt somewhere. And there he's being lit up by the popo. Spider-Man wanted. Dun dun dun. This issue, Spider-Man issue number 72, which is one of my personal favorites. When I was a kid, I had a Marvel book, graphic novel, and that was my introduction to Marvel. It was a book that I forgot the name of it now, but it was a book of the origins. I think it was called The Origin of Marvel Comics, if I'm mistaken. And it had the origins of Captain America, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Thor, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, and along with the origins, it give you a story. And in the Spider-Man story, this was the story. And one of my favorite pages from this book, J. Jonah Jameson's in a hospital. I believe he had a heart attack or something happened, and he's getting better. And when Spider-Man stopped the Shocker, which you see here on the cover, and if you watched Homecoming, Shocker was in the movie. He Robbie Robertson actually was taking over the newspaper while J. Jonah was in the hospital, and the Bugle printed a favorable write-up of Spider-Man. And when J. Jonah read that in the hospital, the man flipped his lid. It is probably to me one of the most funniest few panels in comic book history, where he's trying to call the Bugle, and the operator can't understand a word he's saying because he's screaming. So she's asking him if he wants bagels or bugles, like from the music store, or beagles for a pet store. And they're trying to get a sedative in him, and he's struggling to get the sedative. There's a one panel where bunch of orderlies are actually carrying him off to his room. And I urge you, if you find this and read it, I'm sure you'll find it as funny as I found it. And finally, to close it off, I have issue number 117, and I don't know who this villain is. Youth for Riley, the Dispiritor, another lame villain from Spidey. Look, not all of the villains are going to be hits. You're going to have a lot of misses, especially when you have the history and the longevity of a character like Spider-Man has. Not every villain's going to be a Doc Ock or a Green Goblin or even a Hydro Man, but it makes for good comic book reading, I guess. I can't wait to sit down and find time to read these books. Don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, or if I'm just going to probably just put these books away for a little bit, and then when I'm ready to read them or I have time, I will be able to enjoy these books. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. I thought I'd do something a little different today and not just baseball cards. So I'll mix it up a little bit. I got a little jealous seeing Mike baseball card collectors Spider-Man books in a couple of videos that he's done, pickups and his collection. So I wanted to show off some of my more recent Amazing Spider-Man pickups. Maybe one day I'll be able to pull out the rest. I guarantee you they're not as cool as Mike's collection is, but I think what I have is pretty good, and it's something to work on and to build on, rather. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, please leave a comment down below, click that like button, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks, guys, for watching the video. Remember, collecting's a life, so learn to love it.